Well, hopefully we can go live now to Washington and we can speak to our correspondent Natalia Antalava. So Natalia, we have heard from President Obama today explaining just what part America is playing in Operation Odyssey, albeit stressing that it is a limited role.
Absolutely. Washington, President Obama, Secretary Clinton have put such an effort into stressing that this is just a limited role. The message has been forceful. He has been said once again, our consensus is strong, our resolve is clear, but he keeps the political message from Washington is very clear as well. They're saying that we're part of an international coalition. This is not our initiative. This is not our operation. Having said that, it's very interesting that the Pentagon briefing, the Vice Admiral William Gortney did give us a slightly more detail about what's happening with the operation on the ground, and it looks like at this stage at least, it is the Americans who are playing an absolutely crucial role. Those airstrikes are being carried out by British, some British, but mostly U.S. warships and submarines off the coast of Tripoli, and it is the operation that's largely being performed by the United States. So there's almost this difference in messages. While the Americans are saying, no, we don't want to be seen as the only players. At the same time, they are the ones who are doing the job right now. Having said that, what Pentagon says they hope is that they will prepare, as they say, the battle theater with this airstrikes, and then once the no-fly zone is established, they will pass it on to the Europeans.
And Natalia, interestingly, we know the aims of the operation to protect civilians, to protect the city of Benghazi from Gaddafi's forces. But has the Obama administration been any clearer about the long-term goals? Is it regime change they want to see?
We have heard from Secretary Clinton, who has said over the last 2 days that they want to see Gaddafi go. But in all of his speeches, President Obama has certainly emphasized that this is just an operation to protect civilians, and that's obviously what the UN resolution stipulates. I think there is quite a lot of concern among the American public about this issue, and what's the end goal, what's the end game of all of this. And I think people are remembering Iraq in 2003 and the various other U.S. involvements in the Middle East, and of course in Iraq a no-fly zone led to a 12-year-long operation in northern Iraq. So I think there is a concern on the part of the American public that this could be yet another very long and potentially painful engagement. But President Obama, once again today, he was very clear that there will be no ground troops used, and that this is an operation to protect civilians, which makes it a little open-ended.
Okay, Natalia Antalava, live from Washington. Thank you once again. Well, a defiant Colonel Gaddafi made a statement which was broadcast on Libyan television. He said that civilian and military targets in the region would now be in danger.
North Africa. This aggressive invasion has now become a ground war. The Western interests will be a target as from now because of their aggressive Zionist aggression. It is a colonial and crusading aggression. Its aim is to declare a crusading war at large. The Libyan people is confronting and facing up to this aggression with victory, patience, and its belief in God. And is supported by citizens from the Arab nations, Muslim nations, and people from Latin America and Asia and Africa. To stand with the brave Libyan people. So towards this aggression only makes the Libyan people more stronger and consolidate its will. all the masses open the arms depots to defend Libya, its unity and sovereignty and pride.
Well, that was a direct translation of a statement from Colonel Gaddafi from a few hours ago. This is BBC News. The headlines. Britain and America have launched more than 100 cruise missiles against Colonel Gaddafi's air defences. President Obama says the international community had to act to save the lives of civilians. Defiance and anti-aircraft fire in Tripoli. Colonel Gaddafi and his supporters say war has been declared on the Libyan people. Gaddafi also warned that civilians and military targets in the Mediterranean and North Africa would be in danger. Well, Mohammed lives in Tripoli. Earlier, he told my colleague Peter Dolby what was happening in the city.
Yes, I have heard the anti-aircraft start shooting around 2:35 early in the morning, very heavily for almost 5 to 10 minutes, and machine guns and all over the sky around Tripoli. And now it's quiet for the last 10 minutes. But for a minute it was very, very, very heavy anti-aircraft shooting, but I haven't seen any airplanes in the sky of Tripoli, but I can hear or heard the anti-aircraft very heavily for almost 5 to 10 minutes.
Given that the UN resolution very specifically, Mohammed, doesn't talk about ground forces. In fact, it says explicitly there will not be ground forces. How does what's happening at the moment translate into what you want, given that the rebels, in effect, are in the east of the country? We're talking about Benghazi, we're talking about Misrata, we're not talking about Tripoli. And then even if they were to march on Tripoli, what could they achieve?
They will come to where he lives. I mean, even the people in Tripoli, they will march with them. You know, we are in Tripoli like we are in siege. You know, we are in jail. You know, yesterday I went to Friday mosque, Friday prayers, and machine guns around the mosque wherever you go. You know, people that are walking, Gaddafi's people that are walking around the mosque. So if the people from the east and from Misrata, it's very, very hard to get in touch with Misrata by phone. So if they march the rebel toward Tripoli, everybody will join them to bring this man down and his people, you know, his group, his sons and everybody, you know. So I hope so. I hope very soon.
Well, that was Mohammed, a Tripoli resident, speaking to us a little earlier. But what kind of military campaign can we expect, and who's involved? Our defence correspondent Caroline White has the details.
Not from the air, but from the sea. Invisible, but deadly. It was a British Trafalgar-class submarine, like this one, which today launched the UK's part in this international mission. It fired a number of Tomahawk missiles aimed at Libya's air defences, acting in close coordination with US colleagues.
Earlier this afternoon, over 110 Tomahawk cruise missiles fired from both US and British ships and submarines struck more than 20 integrated air defense systems and other air defense facilities ashore.
That should remove at least some of the very real threat to the British fighter jets now ready for action. The tornadoes at RAF Marham are a key part of this international coalition, and they'll be used to strike targets on the ground, whether that's tanks threatening civilians or Colonel Gaddafi's command and control ability. So what kind of military deployments can we expect, and from where? Well, the NATO base at Naples is understood to be the central hub for the military operation, and Italy has made 7 bases available, including 3 in Sicily, as possible springboards for sorties. Britain's contribution is likely to be controlled by the Joint Force Air component deployed to its base at Akrotiri in Cyprus. Some surveillance aircraft will also operate from there. British forces are being joined by those from France, Spain, Italy, Canada and the United States, amongst other Western and Arab nations. The military operation in Libya is centred on an area 90 by 60 miles around the eastern city of Benghazi, the rebel stronghold threatened by Gaddafi's forces. And the coalition will be keen to take out his command and control centres, as well as his air defences. The international coalition is pulling together a huge range of military assets from many different nations, with jets arriving by the hour at the bases they'll fly from. All this has to be commanded with extreme care. It's a complex operation, and commanders will be all too well aware of the risks.
It would be very silly of anyone to think that there isn't risk of injury and death to civilians when you're attacking people in close quarters with the people you really need to stop. And now they'll be working very hard to try and avoid any, but I think it would be very rash of anybody to say that there won't be any. I'm afraid that is one of the realities of war.
The coalition's hope is that by striking hard and fast now, the forces still loyal to Colonel Gaddafi will think again, and perhaps the Colonel himself. Caroline Wyatt, BBC News.
Well, Professor Clovis Maqsood served as the Arab League's ambassador to the United Nations for 12 years. He welcomes the start of the military operation against Colonel Gaddafi.
Although the action was a little bit delayed, which has also caused additional civilian casualties, as we have seen in Benghazi. However, better late than never, and therefore the enforcement measure has achieved legality and legitimacy at the same time. Legality because it emerges from the Security Council as an enforcement measure under Chapter 7, and legitimacy because the Arab League has sponsored the resolution to enforce the no-fly zone as well as other measures to be undertaken. So in that respect, it is responding to the will of the people of Libya and is responding to the interests of the Arab world in general. And that is why this is a breakthrough. It is unfortunately it's going to cause some more casualties, some more losses. However, the outcome is almost inevitable despite the state of denial that Colonel Gaddafi is exhibiting.
Now, you've referred to the role the Arab League played in helping push for the United Nations resolution. Do you now feel the Arab nations will offer air support? Will they take part in military operations in Libya? Is that something you foresee?
Well, they will do it within the framework of the United Nations, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, and perhaps I heard that Jordan might, and others will join in one form or another in whatever the leadership of the United Nations operation requires. There is a disposition, a willingness to participate in whatever form, in whatever capacity they have. And naturally, I don't think that all are going to be able because of their incapacity to provide the necessary measures and the necessary materiel, necessary air forces. However, whoever can are definitely participating. Already they have deployed some of their air forces to the coalition.
Now, we've heard from Colonel Gaddafi a short while ago making an appeal to Arab nations to join up with his supporters, with the people of Libya. But is it the case? Does he have any friends left in the region?
Well, if he has, they are a little bit more hidden than ever. First of all, what is responding to the legitimate aspirations of the Arab people is what has taken place in Tunis and in Egypt, and especially in Egypt. And these are developments which he has condemned when he was in power, and because instead of being the point of contact and relations between these two great Renaissance developments, he has condemned them because he is allergic to success, to people's participation and people's rights and interests. And therefore, he is now experiencing the outcome of being drawn and being driven